Liam was the kind of guy who always had ideas, business plans, creative projects, study goals. He had notebooks full of them. But there was one thing he never did: start. Every time he thought about doing something big, another thought would follow. What if I fail? He'd imagine people laughing, friends judging, or wasting months for nothing. So he kept putting things off. I'll start next week, when I feel ready. But that day never came. While his friends were building portfolios, launching channels, or applying for scholarships, Liam was still stuck in planning mode. He watched hours of motivational videos, read self-help books, but nothing changed. The truth? He wasn't lazy. He was afraid of not being enough. One afternoon, as he was walking past his old school, he saw Mr. Jordan, his high school literature teacher. A calm, thoughtful man who always knew how to say the right thing. Mr. Jordan recognized him and waved him over. "You look like a man carrying a heavy backpack," he said with a smile. Liam shrugged. "I've got too many dreams, sir, but I can't seem to move." Mr. Jordan nodded slowly. "Let me tell you a story." They sat on a bench as he began. Once there was a boy who wanted to climb a mountain. Every day he'd stare at it and imagine how beautiful the view must be from the top. But he never climbed it. Why? Because he feared the first step. The boy told himself, "What if I slip? What if I never reach the top?" So he stayed where he was. Years passed. One day, he met an old man who had climbed the mountain many times. The boy asked him, "Weren't you afraid of falling?" The old man replied, "I was. But I was more afraid of staying at the bottom my whole life." Mr. Jordan looked at Liam. "The mountain isn't your enemy. Fear is." If you've ever been stuck in your head like Liam, waiting for the perfect moment, hit that subscribe button now. The next parts might just give you the push you've been needing. That night, Liam couldn't sleep. He thought about all the ideas he'd buried under fear, not because they were bad, but because he never gave them a chance. So he did something simple. He chose one idea, not the biggest, just one, and set a 3-day goal. Nothing fancy, just a small step. For the first time, he hit publish on a video he'd recorded a month ago, but never dared to post. His hands were shaking, but he didn't delete it. He woke up the next morning expecting mockery or silence, but instead, there were a few kind comments, 2 shares, 1 DM from a classmate. "Man, this was actually great." Liam was stunned. All that fear, for what? He kept going. A week later, another video, then another. Each time, a little less fear, a little more confidence. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Part 7. Months passed. Liam was no longer the guy with a notebook full of someday plans. He had a YouTube channel, a podcast, and his own small brand. He wasn't the best, but he was in the game. The fear never fully disappeared, but it no longer made decisions for him. When people asked him what changed, he'd say, "I stopped trying to kill fear. I just stopped letting it lead." Years later, Liam gave a talk at a university. He stood on the same stage where he once imagined himself freezing and said this, "Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal. It means what you want is worth it." Now I'm asking you, what's one thing you keep postponing because you're afraid to fail? Write it in the comments, not for me, but for yourself. That might be the first step to finally starting.